This is the Louie T Network.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Here to break down the Chicago Bears traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Look, you want to talk about a team struggling right now, you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You want to talk about a team playing some really good football, you want to talk about the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears 2-0, Pittsburgh Steelers 0-2 coming into this football game. You look at the Bears, I was not impressed. Even though they're 2-0, coming into this game, I wasn't impressed. You had to come from behind at home against Cincinnati. You were down 21-7 in that football game, forced a couple of turnovers, did some things to rally back and win that football game. Okay, you got it done. Look, good teams find a way to get it done. You follow that up with another game in which you have to come from behind. You win in the final stages of that game versus Minnesota. So you're living dangerously. I'm not really sure if I trust this Bears team. They haven't been on the road yet in 2013. You're going up against a desperate Pittsburgh Steelers team. I was expecting the Steelers to show up and show out and win this football game and get it done versus the Chicago Bears. I was wrong. And I tell you what, this offensive line for the Chicago Bears, first and foremost, must be given credit. They insert Long at guard in the preseason into the starting lineup. They say, all right, Jamarcus Webb gets an opportunity at right tackle. He doesn't get it done. They insert Jordan Mills, and all of a sudden, this offensive line is starting to protect. Jamar Bushrod is doing his job at the left side. Jordan Mills is handling the right tackle position. Long is doing it at right guard. And these guys are getting it done on the offensive line. And that's where it starts for the Chicago Bears. They opened up some gaping holes for Matt Forte in this game. They protected Jay Cutler, gave him time to push the ball down the field. And look, for the Chicago Bears, it always starts and ends with this defense. When this defense is turning over teams and turning these turnovers into direct points, this Bears team is all but unstoppable. We saw this last year. When this team was forcing turnovers and turning these turnovers into points, I think the Bears started the season out 7-1 last year. I mean, this team was borderline unstoppable last season. Then when the turnovers stopped and this offense was asked to generate offense on their own, they couldn't, and they ended up missing the postseason. So this team is dangerous when the defense is for. And who forces turnovers like the Bears? No one creates turnovers and turns them into points like the Chicago Bears. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I said it last year all season that this Bears team was extraordinary in the sense that they could force turnovers, and not only force turnovers, they turn into an offensive team once they force a turnover. Guys start looking to set blocks up, and the return men always have a nose for the end zone. They're not looking for somewhere to fall down or looking to run out of bounds. They're looking to score right away. And so this Bears defense is unique in the sense that they force turnovers. And not only are they forcing turnovers, they're turning them into direct points. And that's what makes this Chicago Bears defense so dangerous. And they did it again to the Steelers. Look, they jumped on this Steelers team 24-3 midway through the second quarter. I mean, if not for a roughing the kicker penalty, when the Bears were about to get the football back up 24-3 with the Steelers essentially on life support in this game, the fans and the crowd are out of the ball game because they are getting shellacked, and the Bears are forcing turnovers offensively. They're getting it done. Forte is having a field day early to start this game. If not for roughing the kicker, which gave the Steelers life, they end up scoring a touchdown on that possession after it was extended by that penalty and cutting the lead to 14 at 24-10. If not for that penalty, this is a blowout. This is a game that we're not even talking about how close it was and how the Bears had to fend off the Steelers late in this game to secure the victory. We're talking about a blowout victory on the road for the Chicago Bears in impressive fashion, which it ended up being anyhow. But if you watch the game, it wasn't a blowout. It was rather close in the fourth quarter. Bears pull away late with a couple more turnovers and a huge catch on an overturn by the officials. Great challenge by Mark Tresman on the Earl Bennett touchdown. And look, if you're the Steelers, you gave it good effort in this game. You scored points, but you turned it over. And you're not good enough as a football team to turn it over. You gave up some yards in the run game. You gave up some yards in the passing game. Your offense let you down in this game with all of the mistakes that they made. Roethlisberger turned it over about 4 times. He had about 2 fumbles. He had another 2 interceptions. This team did not play sharp football. Felix Jones also laid it on the ground. Major Wright had a huge game, had a pick 6, also forced a fumble that turned into more points for the Chicago Bears. And so this Bears defense is extremely opportunistic. I always say that they find a way to force turnovers. If you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay on the defensive side of the football. And the Steelers made plenty of mistakes, and the Bears made them pay for every single one of them. Bears get it done 40-23 in this football game. They go to 3-0 in this season. And look, you say what you want about the Packers, you say what you want about the Bears, and the Packers own this division and they'll find a way to get it done. The Packers are 1-2 right now. The Chicago Bears, folks, are 3-0, and they're playing some damn good football. You better look out for the Bears in that NFC North division. Everybody else is struggling. The Lions are 2-1, but the Lions, they're not going to be a team that's going to beat the Bears, beat the Packers in this division. This division is between the Packers and the Bears, and right now, the Packers are 1-2, and the Chicago Bears are 3-0, and they've looked pretty damn good doing it. I must say so myself. You look at what this Bears team has been able to do, they're scoring points. You score points in the National Football League, you'll find ways to win. You force turnovers, you'll find ways to win. And the big part about that is the Bears aren't turning the football over that much themselves. They're forcing them, but they're not giving them back. And that plus minus right now is looking very strong for the Chicago Bears as they get it done on the road against the Steelers, 40-23. You look at it from the Steelers' perspective, tough loss. You didn't give yourself a chance with all the mistakes. You make mistakes in this league, you turn it over, you don't protect your quarterback, you put the football on the ground, you got penalties, you do all the things that teams do to lose games in this league, you're going to lose, and the Steelers did that. They had penalties, they had mistakes, fumbles, interceptions, they gave it up, did the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when you make mistakes, you pay for it in this league. They paid for it in this game. And so where do you go from here? I thought Mike Tomlin had a great quote when asked, how do you get yourself out of this hole? Well, you got to quit digging. Well, the Steelers didn't stop digging. They still got the shovel. They're still shoveling out more dirt. So that hole is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. They're now 0-3. And much like a lot of these 0-3 teams around the league, their season is in peril right now. Hard to dig yourself out of an 0-3 start. And I don't know what the expectations were for the Steelers going into the season, but they're not a really good football team. They're struggling on both sides of the football right now. I was thinking that maybe their struggles on offense led to a little bit of the struggles on defense, but no, this defense is just not forcing turnovers. They're not taking the football away from opposing teams. And if you don't force turnovers in this league, there's 2 parts to defense. Stopping a team from putting points on the scoreboard and forcing turnovers. Those are the 2 jobs of a defense. And right now, the Steelers are only doing half of the job. And really, you could say that they're not even doing the half of the job that they're used to doing, which is keeping teams out of the end zone. They're not even doing that great right now. And so this is a Steelers team that is struggling on both offense and at times on defense. And your end result is a 40-23 loss at home. Steelers are now 0-3. And hard to say where the Steelers go from here after another hard loss at home. Steelers 0-3 and 0-2 at home at Heinz Field. This is a team that is struggling. Bears 3-0. big win for the Bears on the road. So, thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. See you next time. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab room.